And now I want to introduce one of my best girlfriends. Mary and I have become really good friends since we've lived up here for a year, and it's been so much fun, and we've lost weight together and gone shopping and lots of fun things. But the thing that I'm so in admiration of is this ethics program that Mary expanded upon to come up with this ethics program that is so incredible. It's changed our business. So just to tell you a little bit, Les and I moved up here a little over a year ago. We have our drug rehab that we run, and one of the things that we've done since we've started doing our drug rehab is we put everyone through the ethics conditions by dynamics and all that. And we always felt that our ethics program was kind of a bit of a weak point in our whole drug rehab program. And we didn't really quite know why. And anyway, we got to know Mary, and we got interested in this ethics program that she's been running, and she's got the website up. And we got trained in it. She delivered it to Les and I, and trained us in how to deliver it. And we have, the products that we have gotten since then are phenomenal. The wins, I don't even know how to put words on it, because it's changed our lives and it's changed our business. And it's everything that we do in Mary's ethics program is backed by an LRH reference. So it's totally LRH references, but it's the way it's laid out and designed and put together that it's incredible. Yeah. So I want to turn this over to Mary now and let her tell you whatever she wants to say about it.
Okay. Well, we've been really busy this morning, so I'll just try to keep this not too long. Okay. The ethics program that I do is mainly a hatting action for any self-respecting static that wants to be a player in the game. The hatting instruction manual seemed to have been left out maybe way back when, and we've been struggling with that one for a really long time. Of course, LRH provided us with a tremendous amount of information on many levels, in many directions, information and technologies and solutions to the problem of theta versus MEST and everything else that's going on in the game. But the ethics technology is a very specific application for the purpose of bringing out the basic goodness of a being, regardless of the fact that he's got a case. Case could be described as an accumulation of the solutions that a being has created and the consequences resulting from those solutions to the problem of entering an aberrated situation, because all games are aberrative. All games are aberrative. Some are fun. Okay. Now, a thing is basically good. Reason being, anybody want to explain why a thing is basically good? Yes, John?
Because intrinsic magnificence is the core of his being.
Well, that's true. Yeah, of course. We don't want to forget about the intrinsic magnificence element. But also, there's another technical explanation, which is that first you're a creator. Later, you may choose to destroy something that you have created or agreed to. But the first action is sort of a constructive creative impulse to manifest your considerations, postulates, and opinions. And usually and always it begins with some form of ARC, some form of perhaps pleasure or joy or excitement or positiveness to express yourself, your true nature. You haven't had time, if this is the beginning of a cycle of a game, you haven't had time to get into ARC breaks or upsets or present time problems. You're just you. So you're going to do something that is reflective and something that represents your basic nature, which is a creator, not a destroyer. Okay, now, all games are aberrative. Would anybody like to take a stab at why all games are aberrative? Yes.
You have to come down from native state in order to play the game.
Excellent. Yes. You have to give up your absoluteness. You have to give up your absoluteness. And so you are lowering your knowingness. And that would be considered a step in the direction of aberration. You have some not know, you have some surprises, you have some perhaps potential pitfalls ahead. You can't have absolute. If you sit down with a game of cards, say like gin rummy, and you can see through everybody's hand and you know what they're going to play, you think you're going to be interested in continuing to play that game for very long? Yeah, and then there might be a limit to how long the people playing the game with you are going to want to continue having you in the game. You may run into a different kind of a problem after that, because you're playing a game from a no-games condition. A game has to have certain conditions, such as limitation, barriers, freedoms, rules, regulations, agreements. Games have those elements. Some of them make it more challenging, and some of them make it more difficult, and a lot of them make it more fun. Because if you can just jump to the top of Mount Everest with one postulate, there's no point in climbing, is there? No. Okay. So a game to us, any self-respecting static would be something that has a little challenge to it. Now, after a while, if you don't take responsibility for your decisions, intentions, and creations that bring you difficulties and challenge to the game and randomly, you start stumbling over your own barriers, your self-made barriers. And of course, auditing takes you back so that you can follow your breadcrumbs and see how you did this, how you got yourself in trouble. Ethics is more of a straight line to the center of the beam. It doesn't peel the onion. It's not a technical approach. It's sort of an administrative approach, you could say. And so I can help people deal with the fact that they have a case, which is a long history of accumulated solutions to the problem of not being responsible for their decision to be limited. Okay? Long-term accumulation of consequences to the decision to be limited in order to play the game.
Yeah.
Okay? And then you regret some of those decisions to be limited. And you go, well, I didn't really mean that. I mean, I really am a knowing being. I really have higher abilities than this. And here I am in trouble because I didn't expect this turn of events. Well, that's kind of like the consequences of a little not know. And maybe an accumulation of greater and greater not know as you continue along in the game. And you enter into situations such as some of the GPMs that Trey discussed earlier, where you go down the slippery slope, solving your way further and further down into trouble. So, an ethics approach to this would be more direct to the being to address your agreements and your willingness and your level of responsibility in being the one that created all this for yourself. And I address that. I address you as a static. I use the axioms. Axiom 1, Axiom 2, Axiom 3. Axiom 3 is a long explanation of the consequences of Axiom 1 and 2. Axiom 1, life is basically a static. Axiom 2, the static is capable of considerations, postulates, and opinions. Axiom 3, life, energy, objects, form, and time are the result of postulates or decisions made by the static and perceived solely because the static considers it can perceive them. I kind of shortened that. But really, I rewrote Axiom 3 to make it easier, and that is Axiom 1, life is basically a static. Axiom 2, static is capable of considerations, postulates, opinions. Axiom 3, now all the trouble begins. Okay, so beings get aberrated because of lack of responsibility to take ownership of their own, willingness and agreement to which is a prerequisite to being a player. You're only one identity, you're not all identities. Even though sanity is the ability to occupy any and all viewpoints, it doesn't mean that you are occupying all viewpoints, because if you were, you would be in a no games condition. So if you want to be a player and have fun in the game, then you're going to have an identity. I suppose there are some games where you can have more than one identity. I mean, that's not going on right now here, exactly, but it would still be some form of limitation. Okay. As soon as you start going for the absolute, you're going out of the game. You're going to be without a game. And you'll be fine. There's nothing wrong with no game. But you can't expect to be successful in the game trying to play it from a no games condition. You can't criticize yourself for being limited when you've chosen to be limited in order to be here. Having a body, having a name, having a certain set of abilities that go along with your identity, a certain amount of lack of abilities that give you learning opportunities and growing opportunities, excitement and adventure. If you had everything, you would be catapulted out of the game by your own or someone else's